It did not need to. His presence was written into concrete, steel, and silence. Entire blocks of waterfront property belonged to companies that led back to him through layers of shell corporations and trusted intermediaries. Cargo moved through the ports when he allowed it. Construction stalled or advanced depending on a single word from his office. Men disappeared quietly when they forgot who controlled the rhythm of the city. Nathan Cross did not shout. He did not threaten. He did not explain himself. His power lived in the certainty that resistance was pointless. At 42, he had ruled Seattle's underworld for nearly 2 decades. What began as survival had evolved into dominion. Real estate fronts laundered money cleanly. Logistics firms moved shipments that never appeared on manifests. Legitimate businesses paid him for protection they pretended not to need. And behind all of it, unseen and untouched, Nathan Cross sat at the center like a still blade, sharp and unmoving. His office reflected exactly who he was. The top floor of Cross Tower was silent enough to hear your own pulse if you stood still. Thick glass walls overlooked the city, but the view meant nothing to him. The desk was imported wood, perfectly polished, empty except for a single leather folder aligned at a precise angle. No photographs, no personal items, no signs of life. Armed guards stood outside the door, trained to move without sound, to observe without curiosity. The room was not meant to comfort. It was meant to remind anyone who entered that they were standing in the presence of a man who did not forgive mistakes. Nathan believed emotions were liabilities. He learned that lesson early, back when trust cost blood and hesitation meant death. Feelings slowed reaction time. Compassion created leverage. Love was a weakness enemies exploited. He had watched men die because they cared too much, trusted the wrong person, or hesitated when a decision needed to be final. Nathan survived because he cut those things out of himself like infected tissue. People worked for him, but no one knew him. Associates respected him. Rivals feared him. Allies depended on him. But no one crossed the invisible boundary that surrounded his personal life because there was nothing there to cross into. He had designed it that way. Needs created dependence. Dependence created vulnerability. Nathan Cross needed no one. Those who tried to get close learned quickly that proximity came at a cost. Not because Nathan was cruel for pleasure, but because he was efficient. Emotional attachment made people careless. So he kept everyone at a distance measured in professionalism and fear. He paid well. He rewarded loyalty. He punished betrayal without hesitation. It was a clean system, a controlled system, one that kept him alive and in control. Yet power did not bring peace. At night, when the city lights flickered below his penthouse office and the guards rotated shifts, Nathan sometimes stood by the window and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph, just a quiet, hollow stillness. The kind that followed a job done too well, a life narrowed to function without meaning. He told himself that peace was overrated, that purpose was overrated, survival was enough. He trusted no one because trust required faith, and faith had no place in his world. He needed no one because need created weakness, and weakness was fatal. Every relationship in his life had a function, and once that function ended, so did the relationship. Clean, efficient, bloodless when possible. People said Nathan Cross was heartless. They were wrong. He had a heart. He had simply locked it away so deeply that even he had forgotten where. He ruled without mercy not because he enjoyed cruelty, but because mercy introduced chaos. And chaos destroyed empires. From the outside, he was untouchable, a king without a crown, a ghost behind legitimate success. But inside that immaculate, guarded office, surrounded by power and silence, Nathan Cross was a man who had mastered control at the cost of purpose. A man who owned everything except peace. A ruler feared by the city, yet utterly alone within it. And that was exactly how he intended it to remain. She arrived every morning before the city fully woke. Before the guards finished their first rotation. Before the elevators carried fear and ambition to the upper floors. No one noticed how early she came. Because no one noticed her at all. She moved through Cross Tower like a shadow that asked for nothing. Dark hair pulled back. Clothes simple and clean. Posture straight. Eyes calm. The men who worked for Nathan Cross spoke softly when they passed her desk. Not out of respect for her, but out of fear of him. She was the woman who sat closest to the devil and never trembled. Her name was Olivia Carter. And in a building ruled by violence and power, she was invisible by choice. She knew every schedule, every meeting, every name that should and should not reach the man behind the glass walls. She stopped problems before they became explosions. She filtered lies from truth, panic from urgency, threats from noise. And she did it without ever raising her voice. Nathan Cross noticed efficiency. He noticed silence. He noticed results. And that was why she stayed. She never asked questions, never lingered, never reacted when men twice her size lowered their eyes around her desk. She typed, answered, organized, and vanished back into stillness. People assumed she was fearless. They were wrong. Fear lived in her bones every single day. But she had learned long ago that fear did not mean weakness. It meant survival. She worked for a mafia boss, and she knew exactly what he was. She heard whispers through walls, saw men escorted out who never returned, felt the air change after certain meetings. She understood that this building was not just concrete and glass. It was a trap for the careless. Yet she stayed. Because every morning she placed an empty lunchbox beside her computer. And every night she took it home just as empty. No one noticed that either. She skipped meals with the same discipline she applied to her work. Not because she forgot, but because she chose. Somewhere across the city, in a small house far from waterfront power, her mother waited for medicine that cost more than dignity, more than comfort, more than hunger. Olivia never complained, never explained, never asked the universe why. She believed suffering was quieter when carried alone. Nathan Cross passed her desk dozens of times a day and saw nothing but order. He did not see how her hands sometimes tightened when she stood too fast, did not see how she drank water slowly to quiet her stomach, did not see the way she paused before sitting, as if bracing herself. To him she was perfect, efficient, replaceable. And that was exactly how she needed to be. Because in Nathan Cross' world, being seen was dangerous. Being invisible was survival. Yet there was something about her presence that unsettled the silence. Something about how chaos never reached his door when she was there. How the building breathed differently. And slowly, without realizing it, the most powerful man in Seattle began to depend on a woman he did not truly see. It happened on a day that was supposed to be ordinary. A day built from routine and control. The kind of day Nathan Cross trusted. The city moved below the tower. Traffic flowed. Money changed hands. Fear obeyed its rules. Nathan left his office just past midday. Not because he was hungry. Hunger was an inconvenience he ignored. But because his coffee had gone cold. And control demanded precision. The hallway was silent. Guards nodded without speaking. Doors remained closed. Then he saw it. The lunchbox. Clear plastic. Cheap. Resting beside Olivia Carter's computer. Perfectly clean. Perfectly empty. It should not have mattered. Yet it stopped him. Nathan Cross had ordered executions without pause. Had signed decisions that ruined lives with a flick of his pen. But this unsettled him. He stared at it longer than necessary. Long enough for irritation to turn into curiosity. Long enough for curiosity to become discomfort. She never ate. Not once. Not ever. He realized he could not remember a single time. He had seen food near her desk. No wrappers. No cups. No stains. Just the lunchbox. Every day. Empty. Olivia was not at her desk. The building hummed with distant movement. But the space around him felt suddenly exposed. Nathan told himself to walk away. Told himself this was none of his concern. Told himself curiosity had killed better men than him. Yet his hand moved anyway. He picked it up. It weighed almost nothing. Cheap plastic. The kind bought in discount stores. Not the kind someone in his building should need. He turned it slowly, as if expecting it to resist. As if expecting an alarm. Or punishment. Nothing happened. Inside there was nothing. No food. No napkin. No utensil. Only emptiness. And then he saw it. A folded piece of paper. Pressed carefully into the corner. Hidden but not careless. His chest tightened. Nathan Cross had faced guns without flinching. But his pulse betrayed him now. He hesitated. This was a line. One he had never crossed. This was not business. Not strategy. Not survival. This was intrusion. His fingers unfolded the paper. The handwriting was small. Neat. Controlled. Every letter deliberate. As if written by someone who could not afford mistakes. He read it once. Then again. Then a third time. The words sank into him slowly. Like cold water seeping into bone. The note spoke of gratitude. Of sacrifice. Of a mother. Of medicine. Of choosing tomorrow over today. It spoke of hunger without naming it. Of faith without demand. Of hope that asked for nothing. Nathan felt something shift. Deep and violent. Like a crack forming beneath a foundation. This was not weakness. This was strength. Quiet. Enduring. Invisible. His grip tightened. Knuckles whitening. As shame rose where pride had lived. This woman. This employee. This shadow in his empire. Was starving. Not because she was careless. Not because she was foolish. But because she was choosing love over comfort. Duty over dignity. Survival over self. For the first time in years. Nathan Cross felt small. He folded the paper. Placed it back exactly where it had been. Returned the lunchbox to the desk. The hallway echoed with approaching footsteps. He stepped away. Face unreadable. Heart unsteady. And in that moment, the most dangerous man in Seattle realized that something far more powerful than fear had just entered his world. He did not sleep that night. Nathan Cross lay awake, staring at the ceiling of a penthouse built to intimidate the world. Guards outside. Weapons hidden. Silence absolute. Yet his mind refused to obey. The note burned inside his jacket pocket like a living thing. He had removed it. Returned it. But it had already crossed a line inside him. Men feared Nathan because he never hesitated. Because he never questioned his instincts. Because he never looked back. Yet now he was replaying a moment again and again. The empty lunchbox. The folded paper. The quiet dignity written in ink. By morning, his control felt thinner. The next day he watched her. Not openly. Not obviously. Nathan Cross did nothing without calculation. He observed reflections. Angles. Shadows. Olivia Carter sat at her desk the same as always. Back straight. Hands steady. Eyes focused. She greeted him with her usual calm voice. No fear. No warmth. Just professionalism. And that disturbed him more than panic ever could. She moved through the day without pause. Coordinating meetings. Blocking threats. Anticipating needs before they were spoken. He noticed what he had never allowed himself to notice. How carefully she rose from her chair. How she drank water slowly. How her breath changed when she thought no one was watching. She did not eat. When others left the floor, she stayed. When hours passed, she endured. Nathan Cross had ordered men punished for less deception. Yet this was not deception. This was survival. By afternoon, his patience was gone. Not the violent impatience that ended lives, but a quiet tension that demanded resolution. He stepped out of his office deliberately. Guards stiffened. The building responded to his movement. Olivia looked up immediately. Alert. Ready. He stopped beside her desk, close enough to feel the air shift. For the first time, he truly looked at her. Not as an asset, not as a function, as a woman. Her eyes met his. Steady. Expectant. He saw exhaustion buried beneath control, pain hidden beneath discipline. He spoke carefully. Each word weighed. How is your mother? The question landed between them like a loaded weapon. Olivia froze. Just for a breath. Just long enough. Then her mask returned. She smiled. Soft. Controlled. She is managing. Thank you for asking. Her voice did not break, but her hands tightened on the edge of the desk. Nathan felt something twist inside him. Manipulation had never impressed him. Lies never surprised him. But this strength, this restraint, it unsettled him. He nodded, as if satisfied, as if he had not just shaken the foundation of his own rule. When she turned back to her work, he noticed her shoulders lower slightly, as if she had been bracing for impact. That was when he understood. She lived every day waiting for something to fall apart. For bad news. For loss. For failure. And she did it alone. The realization hit harder than any threat. Nathan Cross had built an empire on loyalty, enforced by fear. Yet the most loyal person in his building worked for him while starving, not because he demanded it, but because life had. He returned to his office, closed the door, and for the first time in his life, he did not know what the right move was. Violence could not solve this. Money felt inadequate. Silence felt cruel. Control was slipping. Not outwardly, but inwardly. And somewhere deep inside, a man who ruled without mercy felt the first dangerous pull of something he had sworn never to allow. Care. The city did not slow down for what happened inside him. Shipments moved. Orders were given. Fear kept its schedule. But Nathan Cross felt out of step with his own empire. The note no longer lived in his pocket. Yet it followed him everywhere. In the quiet moments. Between decisions. Between breaths. He saw the words again. Not as ink, but as choice. Hunger chosen. Comfort denied. Faith carried silently. He had believed suffering always screamed. That pain demanded attention. He had been wrong. Real suffering was disciplined. Quiet. Polite. It wore clean clothes and showed up early. That truth disturbed him more than betrayal ever had. He sat behind his desk and stared at numbers that no longer mattered. Profits blurred. Maps lost meaning. His power had always come from clarity. From knowing exactly what to do. Now clarity abandoned him. Olivia Carter worked 10 feet away. Separated by glass and hierarchy. By danger and unspoken rules. And yet she felt closer than anyone ever had. Nathan watched through reflections in the glass. Saw her adjust files. Answer calls. Smooth chaos. No tremor. No complaint. He wondered how many days she had endured like this. How many mornings she had stepped into his world. Empty. Hungry. Unseen. Guilt rose. Hot. Unfamiliar. Nathan Cross did not feel guilt. Guilt was for men who hesitated. Yet here it was. Uninvited. He remembered the men he had broken. The threats he had silenced. The cities he had bent. None of that touched him like this. Because this was not war. This was mercy withheld by circumstance. By afternoon, his control cracked. Not visibly, not publicly, but internally. He stood and left his office. Movement precise. Expression unreadable. Olivia looked up instantly, as if summoned by instinct. Her eyes met his. Calm. Professional. And he saw it again. That fragile strength. That dangerous dignity. He spoke quietly. Leave early today. The words surprised them both. She blinked, confusion flickering before discipline returned. Sir, you heard me. Go home. There was no threat in his tone. No command. Only finality. Olivia hesitated. Not because she wanted to disobey, but because rest felt unfamiliar. Thank you, she said softly. She gathered her things, including the lunchbox. Empty. Nathan watched her walk away, and something inside him broke cleanly. That night he sat alone. The city lights no longer impressed him. He understood then. His empire was built on control, but her life was built on endurance. He had everything, yet lacked meaning. She had nothing, yet carried purpose. That imbalance haunted him. For the first time, Nathan Cross feared something. Not enemies, not death, but the realization that power without compassion was not strength. It was emptiness, and that the woman he had almost never noticed had exposed that truth without ever speaking it aloud. The note had not asked for help, had not accused, had not begged. It had simply existed, and in doing so, it had undone him. The next morning arrived heavier than the last. Nathan Cross entered the tower with the same measured steps, the same controlled presence. Yet something inside him lagged behind. The guards sensed it. Not weakness, but distraction. Distraction was dangerous. Olivia Carter was already at her desk. As always, hands folded, screen lit, lunchbox placed neatly beside the keyboard. Empty. Again. Nathan did not look at it. Not yet. He forced himself into his office, closed the door, sat, and failed to focus. Every sound pulled him back. Every pause drew his attention outward. Finally, he stood. This time, he did not hide his gaze. He watched her. How she listened more than she spoke. How she absorbed tension and returned calm. How men twice her size lowered their voices near her desk. Not because she commanded fear, but because she commanded order. Nathan realized something unsettling. His empire ran smoother when she was there. Meetings ended on time. Conflicts dissolved before reaching him. Violence decreased, without ever giving an order. She stabilized chaos. That kind of power did not come from fear. It came from character. Midday passed. Then afternoon. Still she did not eat. Nathan counted the hours against his will. 1, 2, 3. By the time shadows stretched across the floor, his chest felt tight. Not anger. Not hunger. Awareness. He stepped out again. This time there was no excuse. No coffee. No file. He stood beside her desk. Close. She looked up. Eyes steady. Unafraid. Yes, sir. The words were automatic. He studied her face. The faint hollow beneath her cheekbones. The discipline etched into every expression. When was the last time you ate? The question escaped before strategy could stop it. Silence fell. The building seemed to hold its breath. Olivia blinked once, then smiled. Soft. Deflecting. This morning. A lie. Not a malicious one. Not a clever one. A protective lie. Nathan felt the weight of it settle. He nodded as if accepting it. As if lies had not fed his empire for years. But this one hurt. He lowered his voice. You do not have to explain. Her fingers tightened on the desk. For the first time, her calm wavered. I am fine. She said it the way people say survival words. As shields. Nathan believed her. And did not. Fine did not mean nourished. Did not mean safe. It meant enduring. He straightened. His voice returned to its usual tone. Cancel my last 2 meetings. She hesitated. Then nodded. As she typed, he noticed her hands shaking. Just slightly. Not fear. Strain. That was when it hit him. She was not invisible. He had chosen not to see. The most dangerous man in Seattle. Undone not by violence, but by neglect. He returned to his office. Heart heavy. Mind sharp. Something had shifted. This was no longer curiosity. This was responsibility. And Nathan Cross understood. With terrifying clarity. Once you truly see someone, you cannot unsee them. And once you care, control is never the same again. The decision did not come with relief. It came with danger. Nathan Cross understood danger better than anyone. Kindness in his world carried consequences. Mercy created questions. Questions created weakness. Yet the thought of doing nothing felt worse. That morning, he arrived earlier than usual. Before the guards finished their shift change. Before Olivia Carter reached her desk. He made one call. A quiet call. To a private hospital that owed him more than money. A call that required no explanation. Prepare a room. Specialist on standby. No paperwork delays. Then he made another. To a logistics company that moved people instead of cargo. A driver he trusted. One who did not ask questions. When Olivia arrived, she sensed the change immediately. She always did. The building felt different. Tighter. Alert. Nathan waited until midday. Until the hours stacked. Until hunger did what it always did. Then he stepped out. She looked up. As expected. Sir, come with me. The words were calm. But final. Olivia froze. Confusion crossed her face. Followed by something darker. Fear. She stood slowly. Where are we going? He did not answer. The elevator descended in silence. Guards remained behind. When the doors opened, a black car waited. This is not necessary, she said quietly. Nathan turned to her. This is happening. His voice held no anger. Only certainty. The car moved. The city blurred. When the hospital came into view, Olivia inhaled sharply. No, she said. This is too much. He faced her fully. This is not charity. Her eyes glistened. But she did not cry. You read the note. It was not an accusation. It was a statement. Nathan did not deny it. You should not have. She whispered. Yet you left it. He replied. Inside the hospital. Doors open without questions. Doctors waited. Rooms prepared. Olivia stood frozen. He placed a card in her hand. Use it. She tried to return it. I cannot. He closed her fingers around it. You can. Her voice cracked. I do not want your pity. His tone sharpened. Not with threat, but conviction. This is not pity. This is respect. The word landed. Respect. No one had said it to her in a long time. Tears fell silently. Thank you, she whispered. Not as an employee. Not as someone desperate. As a woman finally seen. Nathan turned away before emotion betrayed him. Outside the hospital, he stood alone. The city moved on. But he did not. He realized then. He had crossed a point of no return. He had used power not to control, but to protect. And that terrified him, because protection required attachment, and attachment could be exploited. Yet for the first time, he did not regret the risk. Something inside him felt steadier, quieter, not peace, but direction. And Nathan Cross knew. The most dangerous decision of his life had nothing to do with violence. It was choosing to care. The house was smaller than any place Nathan Cross had entered in years. No guards, no gates, no cameras sweeping the street. Just a quiet neighborhood where people waved at each other, where curtains were thin, where fear did not live behind glass. He parked the car himself. That alone felt wrong. Olivia sat beside him, hands folded, nervous in a way she had never been at work. She did not belong to his world, and yet she had survived inside it. This place was hers. When the door opened, warm air spilled out, carrying the smell of tea and medicine. A frail woman stood there, leaning on a cane, eyes bright despite the weight of illness. "So you are him," she said softly. Not with fear, not with judgment, with curiosity. Nathan nodded, unsure who he was supposed to be in this moment. "Thank you for bringing my daughter home safely," the woman said. Olivia rushed forward. "Mom, please sit." But her mother smiled, touched her hand. "I am fine." Then she looked at Nathan again. "You look tired," she said. No one had ever said that to him. Inside the house was simple, clean, filled with photographs and faith. No wealth, no power. Yet something in the air felt solid. The mother moved slowly, but with dignity. She served tea, insisted on it. Nathan sat on a worn chair, hands resting uselessly on his knees. He felt exposed. Olivia watched them both, as if afraid the moment might shatter. "You protect people for a living," the mother said suddenly. Nathan stiffened. "I can see it in your eyes." Olivia inhaled sharply. Her mother smiled again. "Do not worry. I am not afraid. Men like you carry storms inside. But storms also bring rain." The words unsettled him. She studied him, the way mothers do, seeing past posture and silence. "You care for my daughter," she said. Not a question. Nathan looked at Olivia, then back. "Yes." The answer surprised even him. The mother nodded. "Good. Illness has a way of stripping lies." She continued. "I do not have much time." Olivia reached for her hand. "Please do not say that." But the woman only squeezed back. "Listen." She turned to Nathan. "My daughter has suffered quietly. She has chosen others over herself every day. She deserves someone who sees her, not as useful, not as invisible, but as precious." Nathan felt his throat tighten. "If you are going to be near her," the mother said, "you must promise something." Promises were dangerous. Nathan avoided them. Yet he did not interrupt. "Promise you will not break her. Promise you will not disappear. Promise you will protect her heart, not just her body." The room fell silent. This was not a negotiation, not a threat. It was a test. Nathan Cross had broken cities, but this fragile woman held him still. "I promise," he said. The words settled heavily. The mother closed her eyes briefly, as if relieved, then smiled. "Good. Now I can rest." Later, as they walked back to the car, Olivia whispered, "She sees everything." Nathan nodded. He knew. And for the first time, he feared losing something he had not yet fully claimed. The call came before dawn. Not from a rival. Not from a man demanding payment. Not from anyone who feared Nathan Cross. It was Olivia. Her voice was broken, raw, stripped of control. "Something is wrong," she said. "Please." That single word cut deeper than any threat. Nathan was moving before the call ended. Clothes pulled on without thought. Keys in hand. Engine roaring through empty streets. Fear rode with him. Real fear. The kind he could not command. When he arrived, the house was alive with chaos. Neighbors watching from doorways. Paramedics moving fast. Olivia standing barefoot in the cold. Hands shaking. Eyes wide. Her mother lay on a stretcher. Skin pale. Breath shallow. Nathan stepped in. No hesitation. No orders. "I am coming," he said to Olivia. She clung to his arm. The hospital lights were too bright. Too sterile. Time stretched. Monitors beeped. Doctors spoke in low voices. Nathan waited. Not as a king. Not as a boss. As a man who had already made a promise. Hours passed. Olivia sat beside him. Silent tears falling. Her hand clenched in his. He did not pull away. When the doctor finally came, his expression carried the truth before words. "Her heart is failing," he said. "We are doing everything we can." Olivia collapsed against Nathan. He held her, and for the first time in decades, Nathan prayed. Not for power, not for control, but for mercy. The room was quiet when they were allowed in. Machines surrounded the bed, but the woman smiled when she saw them. "My time is short," she whispered. Olivia sobbed. "No, please." The mother turned her gaze to Nathan. "You kept your word," she said. He nodded. She reached for his hand. Then Olivia's hand. Joining them. "Promise me again," she said. Not with fear. Not with obligation. But with truth. Promise you will love her. When she is weak. When she doubts. When the world feels empty. Nathan's voice broke. "I promise." The machines began to scream. Nurses rushed in. But before they were separated, the woman smiled. Peaceful. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she was gone. The silence afterward was unbearable. Olivia cried into Nathan's chest. Grief tearing through her. He did not move. Did not look away. He held her. Long after the room emptied. Long after dawn broke. In that moment, Nathan Cross understood. Love was not a weakness. It was a vow. And he had just given the most dangerous promise of his life. The city expected Nathan Cross to return to normal. Funerals ended. Grief faded. Business resumed. That was how it always worked. But nothing returned to normal. The man who walked back into Cross Tower was not the one who had ruled it before. Meetings were shorter. Orders fewer. Silence heavier. Men who had built their careers on fear noticed the shift. And it unsettled them. Nathan Cross no longer ruled from rage or instinct. He ruled from restraint. Olivia did not return to work immediately. And for the first time, the building felt hollow. Her desk sat untouched. The chair empty. The lunchbox gone. Nathan noticed the absence the way he once noticed threats. Personally, he spent nights alone in the penthouse, not staring at the city, but remembering a promise spoken beside a dying woman. Protect her heart. That promise demanded action. He dismantled operations that fed on desperation, cut ties with men who thrived on cruelty, shifted power toward control without blood. Some resisted. They did not last. Nathan Cross had never been merciful, but now his mercy had direction. Weeks passed. when Olivia finally returned. She did not wear armor. She wore grief. Her eyes were tired, but stronger. Nathan met her at the door. "You do not work for me anymore," he said. Fear flashed across her face. "This place will not own you," he continued. Her breath caught. "I will not be your boss. I will be your choice." Silence stretched. Then she spoke. "You promised." He nodded. "I never break my word." That night they stood on the terrace. City lights below. Rain soft against glass. Nathan held a small box. No guards. No witnesses. Just truth. "I was a man who ruled without mercy," he said, "because I believed mercy made men weak. You taught me otherwise." He opened the box. The ring was simple, unassuming, strong. "Will you walk beside me? Not behind. Not beneath. As my equal." Olivia cried. But she did not hesitate. Yes. The word carried everything. Their union did not erase his past. It transformed his future. The empire remained, but its purpose changed. Cross Tower became more than a throne. It became a shield. Years later, people would whisper about the moment Nathan Cross changed. Some said it was love. Others said loss. Only he knew the truth. It began with an empty lunchbox, and a woman who refused to be seen as weak, and ended with a man who finally understood. Real power was not fear.